Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the goose is loose. We're going to do a little bit of Last Epoch. So I've been playing this on and off for a few years, but intensively for the last couple of weeks. I sort of jumped back on in the lead up to launch. I've been enjoying myself a lot of Grim Dawn lately, so I thought we would give Last Epoch another go, and the game has really come on from when I last played it, both technically and in terms of content, and I've been really enjoying it. And I thought with the lead up to launch, I'm playing it tonight anyway, why don't we stream it? So I'm going to go ahead tonight. I'm going to make a brand new character, and we're going to do a bit of a test for the 1.0 launch in 12 days time on the 21st of Feb. I've got a bit of an idea for a Forge Guard build, all homebrewed, all I suspect initially terrible because I've never used any of the skills, which is part of the reason I want to use them. And we're just going to see what happens. We're going to do a homebrew build, we're going to play like a noob, we're going to fail, and we're going to try and find ourselves some shiny items and make something big and exciting. On the channel I think we're probably going to play a lot of action RPGs. I play a lot of games, but action RPGs tend to drag me in. Everything from Diablo, right at the beginning. I remember getting my copy of D2 and being so excited for it, and there's a whole story about that. I got halfway home on the bus, that's how young I was, and found that I only had one of the 2 discs that were meant to be in there, and I had to stop and catch another bus back and then wait an hour and a half for the next one back. It was very frustrating, but that was my introduction to Diablo 2, and I played that for donkey's years. I sat and waited for D3 launch and got my error 37 for about 4 or 5 hours until about 3 AM before I finally got in. I played about 600 hours, I think I've played of Diablo 4 at launch, but I've sort of faded on that a little bit. And I discovered Grim Dawn in my sort of waning Diablo 4 time. Really enjoyed it. That game is phenomenal. If you have not checked out Grim Dawn, go and play that. But I hopped back on Last Epoch. It's obviously very hot at the moment, and I thought we'll jump on and we'll give it a go, and I've been really enjoying it. So I thought I might as well stream it, share it with you guys. So we're going to make this character from scratch. So we will be starting with a Sentinel. Oh, now I've got to give him a name. Oh, excellent. Let's give them a nice fantasy name rather than something daft and streamerish. Kanjaro. That can't be taken, right? Apparently that works. We're going to be playing standard. I'm not a big hardcore player, but I think if I enjoy the full release of Last Epoch as much as I've been enjoying the beta, I will probably try hardcore in this game. Just because this game has me hooked, and it's about time I think I jumped into hardcore, but not for now, because I've played a bit of the game. I've got a few characters in the sort of 50 to 70 range, trying out a few different classes. I leveled a paladin, so starting with a sentinel base class up to 70, which is my highest level character, and I've really enjoyed that paladin. So I'm looking forward to a similar curve going up, but then we're going to go Forge Guard and we're going to play around with shields and try and work by getting hit, because I'm good at that. So we're going to go standard. I am basically going to play this solo self-found, so for anyone that doesn't know, I'm going to be just using items I find in the game, and when the game goes to full launch I will be joining the Circle of Fortune, which is with my first character anyway. So that is the way that Last Epoch is going to do. It's 2 sort of factions. One is a trade faction and one is a solo self-found faction, and I'm really interested. I want to play trade faction because I've not done much trading in the likes of Diablo, in Path of Exile, some of the other ARPGs I've played. I've not done a lot of trading, and I do want to try it in this game, but not on the first character, because I really like what they've done with the constellations and the different lenses, and it all seems like a fun game mechanic. So I'm going to try that first, and I'm largely a solo player. I've got a mate who might be joining me for a little bit of the adventure, but for now I'm playing solo. So we will go standard and we will start our character.
I am the Sentinel. I spent my youth working the forges under Solara, helping to arm the holy armies of Raya. When I came of age, I was conscripted into the Golden Army and sent to war, wielding the very weapons I helped create. What I found on the battlefield was chaos and the slaughter of innocents. I deserted Raya's army, refusing to be a part of this destruction. Now I travel the land of Eterra, warning its people of Raya's wrath.
Yeah, I'm something of a big deal, apparently. So, right, we're jumping straight in. I have no idea if the sound levels are right. Hopefully there is some sound coming through. I have streamed once and once only before in my life. I streamed for 3 solid hours playing some Final Fantasy XIV, and towards the end of the stream a friend of mine popped in and told me I was muted. So we'll see if that happens this time. We're going to stream for probably a couple of hours, see if this all works, and then I'll see what the sound levels are like, unless anyone actually pops into the stream during, in which case you can tell me in chat whether sound levels are anything like good enough in terms of the balance of game volume and whether you can even hear me. So let's go. We can't kill bunnies, and killing bunnies would be bad, but we can kill these big, hairy, scary, nasty things, which I found out from somebody else's stream. You can't actually die in this beginner area. Apparently if you get low enough, you will go into reinforced down here and you will heal faster than they can kill you, which is a nice little sort of get into the game mode. I think if you're playing this as a pro, most people just skip past all the enemies here. They'll speedrun all these first bits and smash through the quests. And I've done the starting zones many times. I've done 5 different characters to mid-30s in the last couple of weeks. But I'm not going to rush anything.
Our Heoborian allies informed us that you will attend the peace talks.
Raya's war has reached our lands and we are in need of aid. I might as well read these because the audio may not be right. As keepers we avoid conflict. We're dedicated to the goddess Terra's memory. That is until Raya forced our hand. We don't like him. He's bad.
Destroy us and steal Terra's legacy. We can't let that happen. We need Herot's help.
So Raya wants to destroy us. We can't let that happen. We will take the message. Initially when I first played this I was really confused as to why there is a letter here with my name on it, but it all becomes a little bit more clear with the crazy time travel mechanic a bit later on. So I'm going to go through this. We're not going to min-max. We're going to play our own build. I'm not running anyone else's build. When it comes to Diablo, certainly D4, I was playing a lot of other people's builds. The builds are a bit simpler. There's some good guides out there. Path of Exile, I almost feel, as somebody who doesn't play a lot of that game but jumps in maybe every 2nd or 3rd season, you kind of have to play somebody else's build if you want to be even vaguely viable, because the game is so complicated that making your own build and doing it successfully beyond sort of the first 30-ish levels becomes quite difficult, and you can brick your character without knowing it, because there's no going back in a lot of those decisions for a new player or in the early part of the game. But for this, other than your mastery choice, which is your sort of ascension class halfway through, and I'm already decided with this character, I'm going Forge Guard, other than that, everything else we make, all our other choices, are completely reversible with a bit of time investment and a bit of money investment. So we're going to go ahead, we're doing a Forge Guard, I'm going to smack things until they die, I'm going to make a really bad character, and then I'm going to find some good items, and we're going to make a slightly better character. But I am going to kill the stuff as we go through. I may skip some things, because I've played this quite a few times, but if anybody does end up watching and has any questions or would like to know what is going on, if I can explain I will, and if I can't I'll go, I don't know, and we can try stuff out. I've no idea if these fiery buggers can kill you, but that flame breath is particularly nasty. Right, I'm not interested in wands. So I'm going with one-handed melee weapons and shields for this build. I don't know how viable it is and how practical, but I really like the idea of sword and board, using the shields to defend. There's a lot of passives in the passive tree that let me gain health on block, do various things on block. So we're going to block with a shield, we're going to absolutely max our block chance, and then we're going to hopefully kill everything. Oh, look at that, we leveled up instead of dying, that was nice. And we're going to make the greatest character that the servers have ever seen. And we'll see how far we get with this character before 1.0, when I'm going to play this exact same character again. Unless I really brick it and don't like it. We now have... what is it? It's the Whirlwind equivalent skill. The one thing I always find with this, it's very, very mana intensive. Especially early doors before you can work on the skill tree. So for anyone who's not played this, my favourite bit of this whole game. And one of the things, having played Grim Dawn, having played Diablo, having played Path of Exile, I find these early starting stages the character is quite slow, only for like 20 minutes. If I wasn't talking constantly, we'd be there already. But once you start to get some skills and you start to be able to specialise in them, the game really, really opens up, and it starts to feel quicker and it starts to feel more interesting. But you can specialise in any of these skills. So I can open up my skill tree, I can click on one of these skills, and each individual skill has its own skill tree. And I can spec it to do a number of different things. So I could have my Vengeance skill, which I'm currently not using actually. I've put it on the wrong button, so there you go. I've been killing everything with auto attack. But I could spec Vengeance so that it does. I can make it riposte more, so they hit me, I strike back. I can spec it to do, let's see what other shiny things we can do. You have a chance to retaliate with Iron Blade when you riposte, and there'll be Iron Blade will be somewhere up here. The hexagon nodes tend to be sort of the big skill changing nodes, so I tend to hover over those first and then look at what the path to those is. But each of these makes the skill more powerful and potentially completely changes the way it works. But also, though, you can make some of those skills proc other skills. So I was playing a marksman, and in marksman you've got a movement skill called shift, so you press a button, you jump a little bit forwards. It's like any sort of rogue assassin build. You can spec that skill so that when you leap and where you land, you throw acid flasks, which is also a skill that you can build its own tree for. And when you land, you can throw shurikens, and you can make those shurikens fly out from where you land, or you can make them swirl around you as a shield. The potential for fun and interesting builds is very, very good. And I've mainly been playing my own builds. I tried one build copy from Maxroll, and the guides there are fantastic, but I didn't enjoy following them because I like sort of learning the game as I go. But they're very good quality guides, and I recommend if you're interested in how to play a certain style, you check out Maxroll, you check out Icy Veins, all the usual sources. But for me, I just want to click stuff, play, make my own mistakes. There's very little penalty certainly in the storyline in the main quest for dying. So experiment and learn. The game is quite forgiving in softcore. You can just have fun with it and teach yourself how it works. It's interesting, I've got health bars spec'd on things, but I noticed that in this area the little scorpion dudes never have health bars on them. Not really got any clue as to why that is, but there you go. See, health bar on the bird, no health bar on the other dudes. Right, let's do a little spinny. Die! What's that? Oh yeah, we might take that. That could be good. Right, grab all of these. What have we got? Well, it's got increased lightning damage. Why wouldn't we take that? And that's exactly the same as what we've got, but it's got better forging potential, and it looks cooler. So, you know. Right. Farahi! Right. We're going to get mullered by these boys for a little bit. Oh. Wow, we really are. Oh, where? There we go. I forgot which button I bound my health potions to. That was nearly disastrous. So there you go. That could have been the first death. Imagine if we were playing hardcore. That would have been a great stream. Death after 2 seconds. Ta-da! Bird boys are dead. Now we get to talk to this dude. Grail! But it's alright. What family? It was my mistake.
Cornered, and there were so many.
There were, Grail.
I told them to stay back, to let me handle it. And they left. What good are we if we can't?
It's war. You can't save everyone.
Sorry. I just met you, and it's been a long road. Are you also here for the peace talks?
That's right, I'm here for peace.
So am I. Name's Grail. Since we're both headed the same direction, why don't we go together?
Well, that sounds good to me.
Which of us come? Let me watch you fight.
Yeah, you can watch me fight. Hopefully you fight better than I do. Ooh, we've got throwing hammers now. I did spec with my paladin early doors. I spec'd my throwing hammers so that I could throw them out like this, but they would come out and orbit round me and do mega damage, and it was good fun.
Smoke.
Right, what level are we now? Oh, we've got dudes here. Let's go kill some. Right, step back here. I'm going to rebind this. I think we'll play with Vengeance for now. Oh, right, we've gained a passive point. I want one in there. So I made my own build on Last Epoch tools, made by the same guys that do Grim Dawn tools, and the Grim tools I have used obsessively throughout my playtime in Grim Dawn, and the Last Epoch tools are equally good, and I made a build for a Forge Guard on Last Epoch tools, so I've got a pretty good idea of where I want to put my passive points in the first sort of 20 or 30 levels. It may change a bit as we go when I realise some of the skills I quite fancy are not as good as I thought they were going to be. But we will play around with that as we go and see what comes of it. Right, we can go a number of ways. Let's get this shrine. 200% increased stun chance and stun duration. Yes, please. Smacky, smacky, smacky. Oh, thank you, love. Oh. Free beer, top quality wifing. Thank you. Right. Spin to win. I think we might start skipping past some of this in a minute, because, you know, we don't need to be killing everybody here. And it's not getting us a huge amount of XP compared to some of the later stuff. Oh. Let's go spin, 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 spin. And slay. Nice. Very kind of you to send me my first ever chat message, and it's offering channel promotion. Phenomenal. Thank you for your kind offer. I will consider it. Honestly, in the same way I would consider letting Rahe off the loop. Right, so we've hit level 4, and level 4 is our first skill specialisations. This is where the game gets fun. Now, none of the skills I'm going to use endgame are available yet. I haven't got that far. So what we're going to do is we are initially going to spec into... Hammer Throw's quite fun. I've not really used Warpath, so let's spec into Warpath for a little bit and have some fun with it. So what have we got? While spinning, you have additional block chance and effectiveness, damage in a larger area, void damage, cost less mana per second. I do tend to find that Warpath eats mana, but I have got an offhand skill that costs no mana, so I think we'll just burn out on Warpath. Move speed's pretty good, bleed chance might be fun. While spinning, you have additional melee leech while wielding an axe and crit chance with a sword. I did just pick up an axe. Let's roll down this way. So we'll specialise in that, and we'll put our 1 point into here so it does damage in a bigger area. We've got another passive point, and we're now going to start putting points in strength, giving us fire and void resistance. And if I am not mistaken... Oh, it's a two-handed axe. I really want to be going one-handed shield, but it might be fun to do some spinny with a two-hander as well. Yeah, we'll leave that for now. Right. Oh no, die! This is where I find a way to roll Warpath in a really enjoyable, fun idea, and we go with something totally different, like Void Knight. But you know, that's part of the fun. Swing, 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 swing. Hey.
Where'd you learn to fight?
Bye bye. Cool. Right, so we've got a dude to kill up here. Oh, you're going to try and have a go, are you? I think we'll get over that quite quickly. We have also got lunge now, so let's lunge at you. Yeah, I don't want to stand in there, that looks nasty. Lunge, spin. And we are out of spin juice. Lunge. See, when I first jumped back in, my initial feeling was immediately that this, when I got into this section, it was too slow, even compared to sort of early game Grim Dawn.
We're almost there.
I wasn't enjoying it as much, but I'm not going to grab all the lore this time round. I've done that many times. Very quickly, the builds start to come together, even if they're not your permanent builds, and you can really start having some fun with them. So for tonight, I'm going to rush through a few things. If people are interested, if people are even there, and they want to watch me open every lore note and read every lore note, we can certainly do that in a playthrough. But in this one, we are going to dash through and try this build. I would like to get up to our mastery if we can tonight. Maybe we can't, maybe I'll get distracted having too much fun. But all this is good. Right, so we've got a number of two-handers. Not interested. I have got a whole load of stuff in my stash from other characters. So let us get rid of all that. We might as well take a rune of shattering. We'll explain those a little bit later if nobody knows. But for now, we'll take a rune of shattering. So in my stash, I have a number of stash tabs. So I've got pretty much one per class. The only one I'm missing is... we've got Sentinel, the Mage, the Rogue, the Necro... oh, the Beastmaster, the Primalist, is the only one I haven't got a separate tab for. He's sort of sharing a tab here with the Mage. And then I've got a number of idle tabs, full of idols. So you can say I've been playing a little while. I've got sort of 350k gold and some crafting mats. I've got a few stash tabs worth of exalted materials that I've not yet been through these exalted items to see what's good and what's not. Chunk of experimental things we've picked up, and then a stash of uniques. And you know, we've started to get a bit of a collection of keys. So I've nudged towards the end game a little bit and started doing the Monolith of Fate, which is sort of one of the end game activities. But I've also been just making lots and lots of alts to try different things to get an idea what I might like to play when we hit 1.0. Yeah, Balthus. We'll go find Balthus. I'm sure there's a more optimal way to click through those, but you know, just click through them and they're done. So the plan with this build is sword and board, or axe and board, we'll see, but you know, 100 weapon and shield. Shield doing a little bit of lifting in terms of giving me health back, and then we're going to pair it with a tiny bit of a minion build, so I'm going to be able to summon shields and summon a suit of armour later on, and I'm going to be able to scale that suit of armour based on my own armour and weapons, certainly my own armour. None of these are skills I've used, so it will be interesting to see how they work. See, I have this experience with Whirlwind in most games, so if you're playing like D4, it's really fun for clear for a little while, and then I get a bit bored of holding a button down and I want to do something a little bit more interactive. It's like, yeah, it's okay, but I mean, you know, if I spec into it and it goes faster and it does health leech and all sorts of other stuff, then I'm sure that'll be brilliant. But as it stands, I'm getting a bit bored of that already. Now, there should be a treasure chest in this top corner, which might have some funky items in. The other thing I have not set up yet on here, let's get a potion in and let's throw some hammers on you guys. I've not set up a loot filter on here either, which I normally do quite early, because the Last Epoch loot filter, the one that's baked into the game, is so good. Right, a one-handed axe is great. And it would filter out all this stuff, and loads of things drop in this game. You get stuff on the floor all the time, and filtering it out makes the loot process much easier. And the more I can filter that for my own preferences, the better I like it, because I'm not good at making decisions on the fly. I could sit here for 10 minutes hovering over this forestry axe going, do I, don't I do it? I'll compare it to what I've got. You know, it's two-handed versus one-handed. And it slows the game down massively. One of my objectives is to learn better itemization as we go, and you get that by playing the game. I'm going to play, I'm going to learn what works and what doesn't, and I'll get better at it. Right now, I'm not particularly good at it, but on that basis, we are not going to be doing all of that manually. I'm going to put a loot filter in, and I might build a loot filter on stream. I've got one somewhere for my paladin as was. I think there are probably some people who would find building a loot filter on stream quite interesting, and a lot of people who would find it massively dull. I don't think either category of those people are currently tuned into the stream, so we're probably okay. But, you know, maybe people watch the VOD. Right, it's not up here, is it? Is this top corner up here? Yeah, there it is. Right, let's go and loot a chest. Eat hammers! The hammers are kind of cool. You chuck them out, they come flying back, and it's a case of just wait. Oh yeah, see, we've got everything here. Now, boots I don't care about, but better boots I do. Wands, no. Gloves, yes. Two-handed spear, no. Yeah, you see, I think already, so if we look down here, Warpath, which is the spin to win button, that has leveled up, and we've got some more passives. I think I'm already going to go in here. So if we look at this skill, we have a minimum specialised level of 1. And as our character level goes up, that minimum specialised level goes up. Which means that if I chose to get rid of Warpath as my specialised skill, it would come back at a minimum level of 1. But as I level up, that minimum level might be 4, 6, 8, so that I could swap skills out and still have some points to immediately allocate. And given that we've barely really got anywhere, I'm going to despecialise that skill straight away because I'm not enjoying it as much as I have previously enjoyed Hammer Throw. So with Hammer Throw, we can throw hammers faster, we can give ourselves a chance to do double damage. The one I quite like is this, so you can throw them in a spiral around you, and it costs more mana, and then you can have them orbit you, so you throw a ton of hammers, and then you just run around the screen clearing stuff, and you can then make it cheaper again over here, and you can throw more hammers, and it's quite funky fun. So I think we're going to do that, and we're going to go up here. So this node, to get to the next node, there's one blip here, one pip. I need 1 point in this node to get to this node, which is really good. So I can take this one, I can take this one, and then immediately after I've leveled up a couple of times in this skill, I'll be able to take the spiral. As soon as I've done that, next level up, I'll be able to take the orbit, and then I can start increasing the double damage chance, number of hammers, and making it cheaper. So that's all pretty cool. So we're going to go primarily with hammers and smacky things. We got a one-handed axe, which is better melee damage. One of the things I like about this, and it took me a while to get this, so if you look at the base of the weapon, this one has plus 11 melee damage, and the one I've got attached, the sword I've got at the moment is plus 10. But the attack rate of the axe is slower than the attack rate of the sword, and there is no DPS value. So if you were playing Diablo, if you were playing World of Warcraft, if you were playing a lot of RPGs or action RPGs, they will list a damage value, and they may even say plus X DPS. Whereas in this, the calculation is more subtle. And then I look and say, well, the sword gives me increased lightning chance, but I get increased crit chance with the hatchet. And while I'm not doing lightning damage, maybe that's better, but I don't really know. So if I'm using hammers, I hover over the hammer button, and the hammer button will tell me, the tag on that will say, it does 38 DPS and it costs 3 mana. And that tag will change based on the changes I make to the skill. So if I make the skill more expensive, the mana cost will change. If I make it cheaper, it will go down. Changes I make in that passive tree will change the scaling tags at the bottom here. So those scaling tags are the things that add damage or that increase its effectiveness. And I can hold down the Alt key, and that will tell me what that scaling is. So for Hammer Throw, for every point of Dex, I get 4% extra damage, and for every point of Strength, I get 4% extra damage. But they will also scale with bonuses to throwing attack and physical damage. So I don't know if this axe is going to be better. I do 38 DPS. If I put the axe on, I do 39 DPS. That's a massive deeps increase, so we're going to take that, definitely. Fire resistance and armour plus additional movement speed and armour, will definitely take those on the boots. So we are going to put a loot filter in a minute. Right, let's start chucking hammers. See, 3 mana for the hammers also makes them quite cheap, and you can throw them and then just wait for them to kill stuff on their return. You chuck 3 or 4 of them and you just run away. As long as you run away from the mobs, the hammers will come flying back. And they go quite a long way as well. See, it's times like this. So there are traversal skills, movement skills in this game that almost all classes have, if not all classes. I've not really played all classes to a suitable level, so I can't speak to it. But I assume all classes have some form of traversal skill, or a skill that can be modified to become a traversal skill. But I do miss not so much D4, but Grim Dawn's dodge ability, just to get a little bit of rapid traversal. Your character at these early levels, before you build movement speed and before you gain extra abilities, feels very slow and sluggish. But that's kind of cool, actually. I think once you've leveled a little bit, feeling the difference that either an item or a few levels or a particular passive has made to your character is really good fun. And I think when I first started looking at this, one of the things I wasn't a huge fan of was that the passive tree seems to make relatively small adjustments to your core stats or some of your abilities. I think that's counteracted in a couple of ways. One, those things add up quite quickly and they do change and they do complement each other, and you level relatively fast in here, certainly up to sort of level 70ish anyway. So you're gaining those passive points on a pretty regular dopamine hit basis. But in addition to that, the way you modify the skills changes everything really, really quickly. So you do feel from sort of 5 minutes to 5 minutes, you very, very quickly feel the significant change in your character's power level. Which in any ARPG you should do. There should be dopamine hits from power spiking, and there should be dopamine hits from finding cool items on the ground. And I find all of that in this game. So if we go here, we're going to put one in there. Wow. This is like the slowest I've ever leveled up because I'm talking, but it's good fun. Right. Eat hammers! And swords. Yeah, my hammers hurt more than your bows. And they hurt more of you, and then I'm going to spin through you as well, just for the fun of. And then run away while the hammers wail upon you all. Ah, right, level 6. So we'll take another point in strength, that will scale our damage. So if we go back to our hammer, it's now 41 DPS, we've made an extra 2 DPS. But we can also go back to our skill, and we can take this. There is now a 35% chance to do double damage, but the hammers don't return. That's cool, because in a minute we're not going to want them to return anyway. We are going to make them spin around us, and then we're only interested in... So now they throw out but they don't come back, but they have a 35% chance to do double damage, so you know, the big damage on the first hit like that. But in a minute they're going to spin around us anyway. Right, now this guy could be quite interesting for somebody as lame as I am. You've just got to dodge his various fire attacks, and we'll do that. I think you've got time for a couple of attacks between his various swings, and then you've just got to try and avoid everything. It's not the most challenging, but I'm also not the most skilled. On the plus side, we're not waiting for the hammers to come back, so we are not waiting to... take a lunge. Where's my lunge button? Lunge. We're not having to stand in one place and make sure the hammers hit him on the return. We're just hoping for lucky procs on extra hammer damage. Right, any minute now he's going to summon some kind of fiery eagle thing. And I'm talking and playing, which I'm not good at. There we go, fire eagle. Yeah, so I'm standing in everything now because I'm talking. I'm not killing it anywhere near fast enough. Right, double fire eagle. Eat hammers. And then go here and think we might just hit a health pot. Right, get wailed upon. Oh, here we go. Ooh, those things sting. Wah. Right, eat hammers now, you devil. Watch how I'm self-moderating my language. That will not continue over the evening, and I apologise for that, but this should be a relatively safe for work stream. Right, let's just chop this guy down. Yay! Right, armour, nice. Bastard sword, not so nice. So we'll definitely take that, because that is... Yeah, Dex will help with our hammer throw. The club is better damage, but it's very slow. Good chance to stun, though. Only with melee attacks. We're primarily using this, which is a throwing attack. So not as bothered by that. And this has got an extra 6 armour on top, so we will take it. So we'll now come down here to the little portal stone thing. That would allow us then to jump back to the Keeper's Camp if we want, and we can unlock these in any zone that has a little sort of star shape on it. But for now, we just want to use it to keep going. Talk to this guy, but not yet, because we're going to get mugged. Oh dear. So there you go. We lasted how long? So another good thing I do like, this was on purpose, I wanted to demonstrate this. It was all a very important part of the story. Tells you what you were killed by. So it was physical damage from an Osprix warrior. Now if you're in chapter 1 of the campaign, you don't really care about that because you hope nobody saw it and you weren't live streaming and you just carry on. But if you die in the monolith and you don't understand what killed you or where you need your extra resistances, then it can be a very useful thing. We might just print that screen and we might put it as our new Twitch backdrop because that's terrible. My ability to multitask, to talk and play is not great. It has never been tested. However, we respawn right here, we lost nothing. So, you know, we've not lost any XP for that, we've not lost durability on our armour or our weapons. So we'll go back and we'll kill what's left of them. And look, they still have no health. There's still loads of them though. The spin to win button is working quite well, I'll give it that. But soon when I've got my hammers up, you will see it was the right choice. Eat hammers! Right, what have you got to say to us? So he's going to tell us to go and look in the storerooms, which is over here. Eat more hammers! Oh, for Rye! Let's try and remove some DPS off the board. Oh shit, let's try and... Oh, I'm out of potions as well. This is bad. This is very bad. We're going to die again. I've not done this before. This will be very interesting. Now the thing is, my movement ability does not work without a target. Oh, I thought I might be able to get him to drop a potion. Right, ignore that. How many people have we got in chat? Hopefully none. Yeah, probably none. We're fine. We're fine. Oh look, they're right back here. That is an absolutely perfect indication of my ability to play and chat. Because I don't think I've died in this area with any character that I have put together at this stage of the campaign before. I've just sort of walked through these and got them done and it's been fine, but I can't multitask because A, I'm a bloke, and B, I'm old. Has nothing to do with beer, promise you that. No! No, you saw nothing! You saw nothing! Welcome on in. Question for me is that the Williams I think it is? Right, it's pouring more beer time as well. This has been too traumatic. Well, welcome on in, Nano. It's good to have you here to see my failures. I must be held to account. Let's see if we get anything fun in the barrels. I really need to set up my loot filter so that everything I'm picking up is useful stuff. Die! Wow, that didn't go well. Oh, we really need to get these hammers working and soon. Da-da-da-da-da. Wow, okay. I think I ran out of mana there, is what I did. And it stalled me. Right, there we go. Everybody's dead, Dave. Perfect. See, I'm not going for smite hammers in the long run, but in the short run, I'm going spinny spiral hammers until I unlock multi-strike. And then I'm going to run multi-strike. Ultimately, I'm going to run multi-strike, shield wall, whatever the animate armor one is. I've not run Forge Guard before, so I'm looking forward to trying that. But yeah, I'm primarily going to do multi-strike smite, and then so smite proccing off multi-strike, and then I'm going to drop the hammers at that point. But I may come back to them because I have really enjoyed hammers both with my paladin build and in the early sentinel levels. Wow, we're leveling so slowly. Da 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 da. Eat that and eat that. Oh, look at that lucky brass amulet. That is going to save me from everything. Let's see what we've got. I'll get rid of those. No, my lucky brass amulet is on because I did not have an amulet. Hey boys! Right, so Warpath is actually still doing pretty good work for us, even though I find it relatively boring as a playstyle. You can't deny it is effective until your mana is gone. Right, let's get these boys up here before they can come down and get us. Eat more hammers. Ta-da! So we kill the big, or destroy the big golem-y thing in here, having killed the guys that are in here. And then we're pretty close to finishing this quest. That'll ding us, and then hopefully we can start going for spinny hammers. Yeah, I don't want to go. Oh, look at that. I'm talking, I nearly died again. This is genius. This is an absolute test of my ability to do two things at once, and it is not a test I'm performing well on. We've got one health pot left. We're going to need it. This is insane. Admittedly, there's a few things I've not set up for this. Like, I've not set my loot filter, and I've not set my button bindings and things that I've had for all my other characters. But that is no excuse. This is pretty terrible. But also, I'm really enjoying it still, so, you know, that's the fun of noob gaming. Right, we've got some health potions knocking around there. Let's grab one, grab two, and throw a hammer in his face. I think we can just slash you down now, boy. Hey, that took a while. Right. Right, melee attack speed and throwing attack speed is good. I like the Jade Amulets, even without anything funky on them. So that is definitely better than what we've got. So have you been playing Last Epoch, Nano? It's something you've got a lot of hours in? Dude, thank you so much for the follow. That's my first ever proper follow. I got the audio alert. At the moment, I'm down a second screen, so I'm checking on my phone. So that was tiny, tiny, tiny. But thank you so much. It's really good to have you on board. You know, if you were ever to come anywhere on the internet to watch people fail, I'm glad you chose me. Oh, there we go again. You see, you've got me excited, and then I died. I've been about the same. Yeah, I've been playing properly. I've been on and off since it went into beta, but I came back properly about 3 weeks ago, and I've done about 150 hours since then. But none of them obviously on this character. So I'm trying to work out what I want to run for the first cycle in 1.0, because I'm going to go for a clean slate and cycle character. Because although I've got a load of fun stuff, I haven't got anyone into endgame, so you know I'm not too fussed by any of that. So I've been trying to just play a little bit of everything to see what feels fun. And I've really enjoyed playing the Paladin, so I'm working on I'll tell you what, let's do a little bit ripostiness. That will help us. We've got no mana. Right, here we go. Eat shields, boys. Yes, I thought I would do something similar and start with a Sentinel, but I thought I would roll it back a bit and go Forge Guard, because I've not tried any of the Forge Guard skills. Yeah, I have my Primalist is my lowest level character, and I've got a Beastmaster, and I'm really enjoying him, but he's the other one that I've been running. My Paladin's definitely highest level. I've also got a Rune Master who is about 60 something, and I've really been enjoying him, but man, the Rune Master takes some time to get on board. It took me a long time to get the skills I wanted and get them in the right place. Plus that, I struggle to play that anyway, just because of the number of buttons you've got to press and the combos you've got to line up and all the rest of it. Playing a Rune Master on stream would probably kill me every 30 seconds. See, one of the things I love about this game is in any action RPG or MMO, I'm an alcoholic, and because of the way that you can buy so many stash tabs in this, it lets me feed that. You know, I've been playing a huge amount of Grim Dawn, and I've got a whole load of stuff in that, but I've got 5 stash tabs shared and 5 stash tabs per character, and I know I can put add-ons in with Grim Dawn and I can store everything I've got, but it doesn't hurt from my point of view to have that limit, because it forces me to sort of make some choices on what I put in stash tabs and what I keep and what I don't. But with this, I can easily have, as long as I can earn the gold, I can have a couple of stash tabs per character. I can then have separate ones for different uniques, you know, legendaries and all sorts of stuff. So it's really useful. Right, let us enter the Keeper's Vault and die once again. Wow, 10 tabs of Exalted is nice. I think I'm on 2. What do we got? We got 3 unspent passive points, so you know we've earned a lot through death. So we take 1 there, we're taking 1 here for the extra block chance. And then I want to max out strength for damage, but I also want to max out armor and reduce damage taken from nearby enemies. And I'm going to go with that first, because I feel from the way we've been playing we need it. So, right, Iron Spiral, we now spiral hammers around us. So we're a skill point away from orbital hammers, and that will help a lot. Eat hammers. So they can be spiraling, and while they are, we can be backing it up with a little bit of Warpath. And suddenly we've made a quick change to the way that the skills work, and we're mashing through people. It's brilliant. And I think it's one of the things that I really like about this game is small changes make a big difference. And you can do all sorts of really, really funky build stuff. Like, I've not played this combo before. Last time I played, when I started my... That's not going well. When I started my first Sentinel and I went in to do my Paladin, I did hammers and then I did Warpath and then I went back to hammers, but I didn't do them both together, and they're actually quite complementary together because you can be doing damage with 2 skills at once the hammers are out. Like that. One-handed axe we'll take. I think we're good on everything else.
This way. You're here to help.
Keeper Balthus, I am here to help. Let us kill some Osprix. Protect the shard! Don't stand under the falling ceiling. I've never stood under the falling ceiling. I don't know if it actually does you damage, but, you know, based on tonight's experiences, I'm not really that keen to find out. I think for the next stream, I might put a death counter up, because so far it's been hilariously high. I think we've had more deaths so far tonight than I've had in the last week or so. I've yet to die inside the monolith. I've not done a lot of monolith. I think I'm up to the 2nd or 3rd one, but I haven't died once on any character. I've done 2 different characters through the monolith. And I've maybe died a couple of times during... Well, Ignoring the Lagon fight, which you've got to learn. I've only died a couple of times during the campaign. But yeah, tonight appears to be a good one for deaths. Don't get me with your shiny light thing. Right, and I'm just going to run away from you and let the hammers twat you in the face. Ha ha! Eat more hammers, and then eat. It's quite good actually. If we had the expanded range on Warpath, we could fire hammers and then hit him from quite a long way away with Warpath and still win. That one-handed sword is definitely going to be useful. Hello, Bubble. Wand. Right.
That should hold them.
Yeah, that'll hold them. Let's go.
Lovely. What do you mean? Here.
Oh, we're learning so much lore. I'm not even sure you need to click on that actually. I think you can just run out and he comes with you, but I feel rude for not speaking to him. You know, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Right, the dog wants to go out and I want an extra drink. I will be back in 2 seconds. I will see you guys then, hopefully. And we are back. I've managed to not die in that whole time. Fantastic. Right. More roof cave-ins. More dudes to destroy. Eat hammers. Perfect. Oh, I feel bad for Balthus because I know what's coming. No spoilers, but it's not good. The Warpath Hammers combo is surprisingly fun actually. We're doing quite a chunk of damage. Chuck a couple and then Warpath into them. Once the hammers are orbiting, it will be even more fun. Alright, let's see what we get from here. Ooh, move, attack and cast speed. Couldn't ask for more. We will grab that health potion because we may need it. So at the moment the hammers appear where we cast them, and they circle around where we cast them. But once we level up one more time, they will circle around me regardless of where I move. So the skill changes again, which is cool. And I want this shrine just in case. Critical strike chance. Not that I need it, because, you know, I'm not going to die. Jeez. As if that would happen. We might run a competition for who can guess most accurately number of deaths in the next stream. But I need a death counter for that. See, suddenly I'm melting, and that's great fun. There's a point where the game sort of feels like it's clicking, and it comes quite quickly, quite early, and I am aware that I'm nearly dead. And don't want a staff, don't want a wand. I am going to set up a loot filter when we get back to town, which will be a thrilling watch, but I've also done my loot filters the way I've done my builds, which is purely off my own experimentation. So I'm pretty sure there are some better ways out there to do loot filters. I've watched creators, I've watched like Aaron Action RPG's loot filter guide, and that is really, really good and really, really useful. And I did use that as the basis for the sort of things I do. But I do my own as well, because I like it to make logical sense to me for what I'm looking for. That's two-handed, I didn't need that, but that's fine. The hammers are a little bit slow because you've got to cast them before you can do anything, so you spend a bit of time casting and casting. Once they come with you, that's fine, but otherwise it feels like a bit of a waste every time you move and the hammers aren't actually hitting what you want them to. But you can soon adjust the skill until that isn't an issue and it does exactly what you need it to. Haha, man, I can't believe you're still here, Nano. I've died 18 times and I took a break. I appreciate your continued viewing. It's good to have some company. So, my question for you, Nano, when 1.0 hits, are you going Trade League or are you going Circle of Wonders or whatever it is, the solo self-found option? Because I have gone back and forth on this so many times, and I think I've got my answer now for my first character. See, I was going trade all the way, because I haven't really traded in ARPGs before. It's one of the things in PoE that I sort of mean to do. D4 makes it too difficult. I can't be bothered doing third-party stuff and messing around. But it's the kind of thing that I would really like to try. But I love the mechanic that they've put in the game for sort of doing the prophecies and choosing the different lenses, and I'm always a bit of a solo player in these games anyway, so I think I'm probably going to go that way first character, and then I might try the trade faction a little bit further down the line with my second character. I need to get a better solution for chat as well, because I've got chat down here on my phone. I've got this giant 27-inch monitor with my camera up here, up top. So my eyes are always scanning in the wrong places. But we'll get there. Alright, we've got a second skill specialisation now, which is great. We're also going to take another rank in armour clad. And that survivability actually was quite noticeable from last time. Let's have a look. Perfect. Right, what have we got? Don't care about any of that, but this, I think, crit strike, fire damage, bleed, health on kill, all good stuff. And I would be very surprised if we pop that on, if we don't scale quite a bit more DPS. Throwing attack speed is better on that. Melee attack speed is significantly worse, but we're mainly going with throwing, so let's pop that on, plus mana regen and stuff. Yeah, I'm just interested to see how well they've done the solo self-found route, because I think trade is really interesting, and I like the idea that you sort of unlock the ability to trade, but it's pretty straightforward, whereas the solo self-found's got its own little mini-game mechanics, which I really quite like and I want to experiment with. And it reminds me of some of the old mechanics in sort of previous PoE leagues that I really enjoyed, so we will try that. It's down in stone now. That's where we're going first. We are, unless I really mess this up, we're doing a Forge Guard, and we're starting with solo self-found, and then we'll see where we go from there. More armor and more health. It's not actually more armor though, is it? And I can look at my stats here, so this is also something I find quite useful. My armor is 185, gives me 24% damage mitigation. So if I put the new armor on, technically it's 65 armor, not 45, and it gives me 10 health. Health is always good. And this has got Dex on it. Now Dex does scale my hammers, so I'm not getting rid of this now, but if for example I wasn't using a Dex based skill, it's not all that useful for me. Gives me a bit of dodge chance, but this isn't a dodge build. But this has plus 17 armor on it, so it's going to be pretty close. So if I click that, we jump a tiny bit up. In total we're making 3 points of armor, but we're losing a whole 5 DPS, so we ain't doing it. And we will just scratch all of these. Yeah, he got grabbed by a Drake. It was bad times for him. Grab ourselves a Rune of Shattering. So that's what we use to destroy equipment to give us back the crafting materials from that equipment, and we can sort of gamble and hope, you know, if we get an upgrade but we're using a weapon that has a lot of affixes we like, it's likely to give us some shards for that affix that we can then upgrade or install on later gear. So the Runes of Shattering, really important, and you can buy them at vendors, and every time you port to a new town it will refresh the vendor stock, but they're 2k a piece. So when you've got, you know, 300 grand like I've got, because I've been doing a bit of monolith and stuff, I just buy them whenever I go in. But when you first start, you don't have the cash to be, you know, selling whatever it is, 25 gold's worth of items and then buying 5 grand's worth, or you know, whatever it is, 8 grand's worth of runes. One of the things it took me a little while to get my head around from playing something like D4 is you're really not in this game supposed to pick everything up, haul it back to town and sell it, and then port back out. So if I'm in a zone and I hit my town portal and go back, sell all my stuff and jump back in my town portal, the zone refreshes when I go back in. So drops on the floor have gone, all the mobs have respawned, and that's a deliberate dev choice from what I understand, so that you don't feel that every 5 or 6 minutes you've got to jump back to town, sort through your gear, stash some stuff, sell some stuff and slow the game down. You don't make money from selling the loot. You make money from farming mobs, from doing sort of the later end game stuff, and you get a lot of money just through doing the quest line early doors. So you only pick up what you're going to actually equip, otherwise don't bother with it. Or stuff you might shatter with the Rune of Shattering because you want the affixes on it, that kind of thing. And there's a little additional problem in that a lot of the stuff in the game is very good for crafting. Now, I did a lot of crafting early doors when I first started playing, and then I realised that actually the stuff you pick up changes so quickly. You play through to sort of monoliths, and then you start looking for items that are worth crafting onto, save your crafting mats. But you know, it's been good fun. So I got ping then. Nice. I mean, I'm never going to say no to looking at custom artwork ever, because it's not something I can do or I'm interested in, so that would be great. Who followed then? I missed that on my tiny phone screen, but whoever followed, thank you very much for the follow. I think we're going to go with second laptop screen or something for the next stream, so I can actually see what's going on. Right, we've got rid of all that. Let us have a quick look. We've spent those points. Cool. I'll double check that later on. Thanks, man. Right, let me have a look. I was quite enjoying the Warpath Hammer combo. Now we've got Shield Bash. Shield Rush is our next skill, and we're going to be using Shield Rush right through to endgame. And if we look at the passive tree, we get Shield Rush in 2 more points. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that place open until we level up and we grab ourselves Shield Rush.
Everything okay? What? That must be an osprey.
He
What
got
happened? That
grabbed.
must be- we
It was
have to
terrible
stop him. Are you
times.
sure? You'll stay safe.
Yeah, we're going to go kick his ass.
Stay alive.
See,
And bring
passive points straight
Arthur's
away.
back.
We're getting there. So next level up, we will be able to drop Shield Rush on. And then I'm going to experiment with that because I've never used Shield Rush, so that'll be my first new skill. Eat hammers! What do we got? Damage reflection. Very nice. Always feels good when your hammers just demolish stuff quite a long way away because you launched them and then you ran away and the hammers just circle outwards doing damage. I do think at some point I'm going to have to go back to the idea of one of these circular hammer builds because they're pretty cool. I also think, you see, as we said earlier, investing those passive points feels like tiny little adjustments each time, and it doesn't on paper look like it's going to make a big difference. But where we've put the passive points in here, which give me 15 armor per passive point and reduce the damage from nearby enemies by 2%, our survivability is going up. Even though, you know, we're leveling out with the mobs in the area and stuff, it's still pretty helpful. Right, improved shield, we definitely want that. We'll take that for now. Health, fire and cold I'm not fussed about, but it's an amulet. I tend to pick up all amulets because they take up one slot. It's not a big deal. Right, that shield has got better block chance and effectiveness, elemental resist, all sorts of cool stuff, and reduced damage taken on block. So we are good there. And that helmet is better armor, attunement, which does work for this particular character class. Bit of dodge rating, nice. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. I want the increased throwing attack speed so I can do this. Hammer spammer! Right, so we've got a little quest down here. I've not bothered memorising which quests give you passive points and idle slots, but the side quests are pretty much right on the route that you're doing, so I just do every side quest on every level up I get, because you get some XP and you quite often get cool other stuff as well. Hammers, hammers, hammers. Hammers. Hammers, hammers, hammers. Eat hammers. Yeah, see, you're close enough now that I can just smack you with hammers. Although we are taking a bit of a mana pounding. Look at that. That extra shield and everything else made a big deal. Grab that. Ignore the staff. Ignore the helm. And here we've got... Right, so we've got a rune of discovery. So that's a rune. We've got some shards. Resistance, block effectiveness, and spell damage, physical resist. So those are all the crafting mats that you use then to upgrade your items. And the crafting system in this is my very favourite thing about Last Epoch. So if I click on any one of those crafting mats, which are the ones in a little orange text, it'll hoover them all up and put them into my inventory. And then from here I can click transfer crafting items, and that will hoover them up into my crafting materials. And when I click on there, it will show you all the different runes I've got. And I have at least one of every rune now, so that's exciting. All the glyphs I've got, and we'll talk through the crafting system a bit later on. I'm not going to be crafting on this character. And there are some really good videos out there. Again, Aaron's done some great videos. Ziz has talked about, Zizaran's talked about crafting and so on, and they give a good example of how you make legendary items from unique items and all the cool things you can do in this game, and they talk through it way better than I could. So find other content creators for really good guides on crafting. But trust me, if you don't know what Last Epoch is, or if you're thinking of dipping in at 1.0, or you're thinking of picking it up beforehand, the crafting system is one of my big reasons to play, because it takes some of, but not all, of the randomness out of the acquiring of items. It takes just enough out that you don't feel frustrated that you're not getting the perfect drop and therefore your build doesn't work, but it's not so tailored that you can earn a load of crafting materials and immediately make your perfect build and never care about what drops. It's got that perfect balance that drops matter, drops are exciting, but you're not limited if what you're really looking for doesn't drop, unless it's a particularly unique. And if it does, you can go trade league once you hit the full launch on the 21st of Feb, and you'll be able to buy that stuff. Somebody will find it and they'll want to sell it. So these are all of my craftable shards, and some of them are suffixes, some of them are prefixes, and any item, if I look in my forge, which is not bound to that button. Oh, I might not have unlocked it yet, actually. That is... no, there we go. Yeah, I was going to say, it should be working now. So the forge, you can drag a piece of gear in there. So this particular one has 2 prefixes, which are crit strike chance and fire damage, and 2 suffixes, which is chance to bleed on hit and health on kill. And I can drag that into there and it will show you those. I can upgrade those. So at the moment, these are all tier 1. So if I hover over the item, you'll see that they're all tier 1 and those ranges are the potential rolls. And if you're crafting, you can craft up to tier 5 on a given affix, but it will cost you forging potential. And I'm not going to do a long video on it, but I think it's really interesting. I can also remove some of these, so there are different ways to remove these. One keeps the particular affix, or gives you a chance of keeping it. One just gets rid of it. One changes it into something else random, as well as upgrading it. But you can tune your prefixes and your suffixes, and with really good rolls and good luck and critical hits and the use of your glyph of hope, which gives you a 25% chance not to use forging potential, you can craft these phenomenal items with 4 tier 5 affixes on them. So a sort of tier 20 item. But you can also drop in the world items that drop with tier 6 and tier 7 affixes. You can't craft those, you can't craft above tier 5. So you might drop a tier 7 affix, and then you could craft onto it with some others, and you could make a really powerful item, and then you could take that and you could smash it into a unique item with a particularly unique ability to make a legendary item. So, and I've not done any of that in the game yet. It's amazing. The one thing I do recommend if you're playing this, if you put something in your forge and you look at it for 5 or 10 minutes and you go, yeah, that's pretty cool, but I'm not going to bother crafting yet, it's too early in the game, remember to take it out of your forge and put it back in your hand, because that weapon lives in your forge until you bring it back and equip it again. Right, let's have a quick look. Right, I want to quick compare with these shields. So that one has got worse block effectiveness because we have block effectiveness as a prefix on it. So those 3 stats underneath the name of the shield, the block chance, block effectiveness, elemental resistance, those are the inherent affixes on that piece of gear. So these are both targes, and they both have a certain block chance, a certain block effectiveness, certain elemental resistance, and they will roll in a range. So, you know, the block chance will always be 16% on that particular item, but the effectiveness could be between 80 and 140, and the elemental resist could be 6 to 12. And then you've got your other prefixes and suffixes. So it's worth looking at the green and red text underneath, because I would look at that and go, well, the one that I've already got equipped is plus 84 block effectiveness. This one is plus 138. It's much better. But there's 136 block effectiveness as a prefix, the protective Taj of the Defender, the protective prefix. So actually the only thing that this one gives me that that one doesn't is minion health, and I'm not using minions at the moment. This gives me void resistance, but I really want all that block effectiveness and stuff. This is going to reduce a number of things. I think we're quite happy with all of these. Yeah, we're good. Right, so we talked to this lady. Right, we've made very little progress at this point, so let us... oh, we've got a jade ring there, which is dodge rating. Let's go and grind out some more mobs and crush a little bit more campaign. Pull everything in the world, we'll hit it with hammers and we'll spin through it. Because suddenly our build is starting to tick a little bit, and this is not our final build, it's not the build we're going for. But already we've done a couple of small changes. We're level 8 or 9, and the build is so much more fun to play. And if it doesn't work, I can unspec one of those skills, or I can take a couple of points out of it. And if I do that, if I'm above the sort of minimum level, I'll just lose those points. But I could respec it for a totally different skill altogether, or I could take a couple of points out and respec those points, and I will get a bonus to the rate at which that skill gains XP if it's below a certain level. Typically, I think it's my highest skill, or it's based on my character level, but it's very quick to re-level those skills back up. So it's a game that encourages experimentation, which I like, because I'm only following my own build guide. I'm fully aware that it's going to be garbage, and therefore I'm looking forward already to work out where it doesn't work out what skills I like better, and then change it as we go. And the game doesn't punish me for that, which is brilliant. See, now I feel like a badass, like I was supposed to be in the intro scene. Lightning damage. We don't need lightning damage, but we'll take it. Hello, boys! And then my hammers are going to catch up with you, and we'll take move speed and attack speed, and we'll hammer you again. So in a minute, I'm going to build a loot filter, right? It's going to be pretty basic. In fact, it's probably going to be more complicated than it needs to be, because I like playing with loot filters in this game. Playing with loot filters in this game is almost as much fun to me as actually playing the game. And I think I probably hurt myself for that. I think I probably filter out too much stuff, but you know, stuff's going to drop. Yeah, you'll pick up plenty of additional bits. I like a screen where not too much drops, so I can focus on playing, grinding mobs, and I know that if something does drop, it's typically going to be something I want and something I'm pretty pleased to see. So I can then hoover up every item that drops within a certain spec, and I can evaluate it back at town, which is how I like to play ARPGs. Yeah, we'll have that. It looks like, I'm hovering over these, it looks like I'm evaluating them as I go. I'm not. I'm trying to work out whether I need another beer. These Firebird dudes can be really annoying, although we're now at the stage where they just die to hammers so quickly, and we're nearly there. Oh, in fact we are there. We have skilled up hammers, so now is the time to get orbiting hammers. This is where it all gets good. That's on there. Right, so we go here, we grab orbiting hammers, and now they cost more, so they cost 4 more mana, so the mana will drain more quickly. And I only get half as many extra projectiles at the moment, but I can fix that. And the mana cost is +4 from there as well, so it's now very expensive. But now when I cast it, you'll see my mana chunks down, but I make these hammers and they will come with me as I run around, which means I can aim them a bit in terms of who I want to smack in the face with them. And we are 1 point away from being able to put Shield Rush on and have a play with that, which I'm quite keen on. Right, so let's fire out these hammers, and then let's just go ham. Da-da-da! And then we can just stand here and let the hammers hit him, if we do it well. And we've still got our 0 mana ability that we can just spam, gives us some riposte, gives us the ability to sort of counteract attacks. And actually we can be spamming the hammers and then just slashing at things, giving ourselves some defense while the hammers do their work. Although they spiral out and they very quickly get out of range of sort of the people we want to be killing. But that's fine, we summon some more. And then we go down here and we say, nope, right, you eat. all these hammers, and they get killed by the back end hammers. It's amazing. Right, we're going to test this build now because we are not far off the first boss encounter. When I say boss encounter, it's not really, but it's our first even vaguely testing encounter. And given how many times we died in that one area, let's see how many times we die to me talking my way through this. Again, I'm not grabbing the lore and stuff this time because I have done it many a time. But we will see if the slight changes to my build and my survivability and what have you. We will have a quick double check. Cold damage. Now, 30% increased physical damage is massive because that scales with physical damage. So if I put that on, we're on 85. So the one I had, 86, is better. And the reason is, primarily I think because of the crit strike chance. It also gives health on kill, which isn't great against a boss, but it works against other mobs. Fizz resist, fire resist, armour and mana. We'll take the extra armour and the extra mana for now. Yeah, we're pretty happy with that. The club, better damage and more physical damage, but it's very slow. So if we hit that, 80, actually that is better. That is 2 better. Let's go and smack him with a club. Hello.
You're here for the Epoch. Reaching me was impressive.
Thank you, Bird Sean Bean.
Call member wing.
Right, let's get him. Eat all these hammers. Ooh, we don't like that. You can't get us with that. There are, especially in some of the more sort of boss arena type things, there are a lot of bits of the landscape where your hammers just vanish, which is another reason I stopped using hammers on my paladin build, is that if you're not right in the middle of the arena doing what we're doing here, your hammers just disappear against the edge of the arena and you just feel like you're never doing any damage with your main skill, which is annoying. Which I don't know whether that's intentional, whether that's just one of the penalties of thrown attacks, or whether that's something that will be patched a little bit later on. Right, you do whatever you like, because I'm dodging that shit. Yeah, see, I'm feeling a lot happier with this build than earlier when we were dying 3 or 4 times in a few minutes. And we're still only like level 9 or 10 maybe. We're just having fun. Look at all these hammers. Look at them, they're just belting him, it's hilarious. We throw them, we expend our entire load of mana, and then we just dodge him for a few seconds while the hammers twat into him. And we kill him! Eat this! Boom. Right, we're going to grab everything here because we're going home in a minute anyway. I'm not picking up anything white, but everything else we've got room for. Perfect. Right, let's free Balthus. Oh, his poor knees. He's been in a tiny cage and he's an old man. But we will save him. And he grabbed the Epoch, or the shard of the Epoch, which we will learn more about. I'm skipping this primarily because you don't need to see it. But also, if you've not played yet, you might want to experience this lore for yourself, and I'm not really spoiling it. We're just bouncing around shiny pretty zones, killing shiny pretty mobs. Right, so there's a couple of things we need to do here. We'll transfer our crafting items, we'll sort our items, so we've now got a much narrower inventory. We're then going to do a couple of things. We're going to have a quick look. I don't think any of these weapons is going to be particularly better, although actually that's got attack speed on, and attack speed is usually pretty good. Let's try that. What have we got? This level of messing around and seeing what works isn't really necessary, but I find it quite helpful just from my own point of view, working out if I've got one-handed weapons that I'm not sure about, I'll try and put them all on in sequence, work out if there's one that's a lot better than what I had on, and then I'll try and learn why. I'll look at it and go, well, is there an obvious reason to me? You know, does it do more damage? Does it have higher attack speed, higher crit chance? Or is there an interaction in there in the scaling that I haven't really paid attention to that I should have done? because occasionally the game throws up things that really confuse me. I had a couple of weapons, one of which to me was the really obvious choice. It was like plus 30% physical damage, and my weapon was scaling primarily off physical damage. And I put the new one on, and it demolished my DPS way more than I would have expected from a tiny drop of attack speed. So how those things scale, because there isn't a button that says this weapon equals more DPS than that, because it will affect different skills differently, is really important. You know, you're not looking at your auto attack and how it affects that. You're looking at, you know, a plus physical damage will make a massive difference to this hammer throw, which is scaling with physical damage, but it will be worse against something else that scales with fire damage. And I don't have an example yet, but we'll get one. Right, I didn't really intend this to be a learning stream, but I've fallen in love with this game, and I can't help talking about how awesome it is all the time. Right, well that's just flat out better. What's that one actually? Fire resist? No, lightning damage, lightning resist. I think we're pretty good. I don't think any of those are particularly exciting. Oh, we talked to the lady, which was the quest he gave us, so we'll apologise for his loss. See, that one did not give us anything. No passive points or anything, but we got a little bit for it. Right. So typically I wouldn't have a full inventory that I was then selling a load of stuff for, because the money you make from it is next to nothing. In fact, if I go to her and go to buybacks, this is all the stuff I've just sold. Oh, that was worth 106 actually. Oh no, that's purchase price. Maybe that's not my buyback purchase price. Oh no, here we go. So they were worth something, but like the shields. Those shields take up 6 slots in my inventory, each of them, and between them they're worth 30 gold. Even at this level I can pick that up from killing one mob, and we were nuking packs of mobs. So the game is not balanced around you killing everything, grabbing all the loot and selling the bits you don't want. It's balanced around you picking up the stuff you are going to use and picking up gold as you go. Right, let's go and do this next bit.
He's back.
He's back, and everything is fine now. Let's talk to him. Nothing
Go back.
possibly go wrong.
No, we might not fully.
Now, the only time I've played any multiplayer Last Epoch, it was this quest handing where it all went to pot. And we fell out of sync with each other, and my mate could not carry on playing the game, couldn't interact with anything, couldn't click on anything. And we were pretty sure we'd found some kind of game-breaking bug. He tried shutting the client down, booting back up. Turns out he'd assigned more than one action to his left mouse click. So when he tried to interact with people, he also tried to attack them in town, which the game wouldn't let him do. And so sometimes he got interactions and sometimes he didn't. It was all very complicated. So Javi, if you're watching, God bless you. You are the ultimate beta tester.
I have idea. Well, we are keepers after all. Do you think we're going through the motions?
Yes, I think you've done that. I think you've made mistakes. You've gone through the motions.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry too.
Oh no, he's apologising. Something bad's going to happen.
Best for us all. With the Epoch's power, I'm finally able to.
Whoa! And through no choice of my own, I am entering the crumbling ruins. But the crumbling ruins of what? I've seen a lot of reviews where people have said that they didn't really like the single player campaign because it felt very spread out and a bit disjointed and a bit difficult to follow. And I think the first time I played it I probably felt a bit like that as well. It's a bit overwhelming. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but there's lots of different time periods and different things you can do, and you know, there are different epochs in which you can play, and you can visit different zones at different time periods, and they will have different aesthetics and different monsters and be different difficulties. Having played through the main campaign to completion at least twice in the last sort of 3 weeks, I've really enjoyed it both times. And I'm somebody who never played the D4 campaign again after I'd finished it. I always skipped it. And I've never finished the PoE campaign, but there are notable bits of the PoE campaign where I flounder. I'm like, oh, we're doing this again. And I sort of start to flag, and that's usually when I either start a new character or stop playing that league and come back in another league. But I've played this twice through all the way, and I've started 4 or 5 other new characters that have only got through to sort of the end of this little set of quests, and it never bores me, because the quest is good, the storyline is good, there's little bits of lore notes out there. It's worth playing it through once, reading everything, doing everything. I might do that on my first playthrough at 1.0. I might read all the lore notes and read everything out, and we can sort of make those decisions as we go as to what we say to people and what quests we take. But the zones are great, the mobs are great, the core gameplay is brilliant. You know, you're going around smacking stuff dies, you pick up new shiny things. What's not to like? So I think that it's relatively good. I enjoy it, and it's something that I can quite happily play through multiple times. Right, I was going to put a loot filter together, wasn't I? But I want to get to the next hub before I do that. I want to feel like we've made some progress tonight, which we were doing, and then I got distracted. And I don't want to get too distracted with loot filters, because that could take me quite a while. Although, just calling them up very quickly, well, before we do, let's kill everything we can see. Eat hammers! And then eat the hammers again, and then eat them again. So if I fire up my loot filters, so it's Shift F in the game if you've played it and you've not found loot filters, and you'll get a little set of rules. You can either import a loot filter or you can create one, and there's some great loot filters out there, and I've imported some. I've imported loot filters from Maxroll and a couple of other places, and when I look through them, they're very well crafted, they're very clever, but I didn't like them because I think the genius of this game is the loot filter system. Once you've got your head around it, is so flexible and so personal that making your own makes more sense, because you can really choose what you want to see on the ground and what you don't. You can choose what colour you want to see it as, you can choose whether it's capitalised or not, you can make a whole range of choices. But I ended up building my own loot filters, and I don't think they're as good. I think they're either too lax and they let too much stuff through, or some of the late game ones I think I had to slack off a bit because I didn't see any loot for like 2 days. And you know, if at any point you're not seeing loot, you can hold down X and it will show you everything on screen. But I think going through the process of learning to make your own loot filter, so if you click create a filter and you create new one, there's a couple of things that are really powerful in it. One of which is you can choose not only the subtype of item you want to filter by, but exactly which of those items. And that teaches you a little bit about what items there are. So you can find your base type, and you might find that for rings, there are base types that give you mana, that give you dodge rating, that give you crit strike chance. You might want all of those depending on your build. You might look at them and go, well, there's 3 minion ones there, I don't want any of those because I'm not doing any minion build, so you just get rid of those. You might look at stuff as you level and say, well, I've out-leveled that ring, and actually there's a ring there that gives me higher dodge chance and another affix. We'll take that. That's perfect. There might be some stuff that's level 0, it drops from level 0, but you want it right up to end game as long as it's got the right affixes on it. But going through that system lets you learn the items, it lets you learn the prefixes and the suffixes, choose what you want, choose which ones are sort of key to you. You can even choose to highlight items that you don't want to equip but have on them a really important affix that you want the shards for, so that will drop maybe as a red item with capital letters. You can look at it, if it's not worth you equipping but it has a +1 to this skill affix on it and you want that shard, you immediately just smash it. You take a rune shattering, you crush it, and you hope you get that +1 to this skill shard, so you can then craft that bonus, that affix, onto a different item that's better for you. So it's really, really flexible. It's really, really good. If I cancel making this loot filter at the moment, I've got a few on here already, right? So my end game paladin one is not a terrible place to start. So I've got 17 out of a possible 75 rules. I could do a whole range of rules in this, and they're filtered from top to bottom, so the top has the highest priority. So for me, it's this one, show all items with these 12 affixes. So I have them listed. They will show in this colour. It's this one here, I think. So they come up as blue. I haven't clicked to emphasise them, so they don't come up in capitals, but they come up in that blue because, why not? Any item with at least one of the following 12 affixes, and then I can go through and choose every affix that is relevant to me. Seems really overwhelming at the start, but you very quickly get an idea for it. So these are the things I always want to see, even if they drop on otherwise crap gear. And they are, well, this one here is a very badly written one, actually. It's just for my experimental affixes, because I want to see the experimental ones, see what's going on. Those are affixes that drop, from my experience, I don't know this, but there are little pyramids on legs in some of the maps. You click on them, a nasty wizard boss comes out, you fight the nasty wizard boss, he drops items that have experimental affixes that you can't get anywhere else, and they do a set number of certain things. Some of them might be you lose health over time, but you gain ward over time, which is like a shield. There's a number of cool things you can do with experimental affixes. So that's that one. But here, show all unique, set and exalted items. So the exalted items, they're the ones that I was talking about that have tier 6 and tier 7 affixes on them. So I can filter by rarity and say I don't want to see any normal magical rare items. So there, if they drop with the right affixes, I will see them. If they don't, not interested. But I always want to see exalted items, which are the purples that have the tier 6 and 7 affixes on. Unique items, which are items with a very specific ability that you can use to craft legendaries. And set items, which work like set items in other games. You equip a certain number of them, you get certain bonuses. So we always want to see those. Get rid of that rule. Right, other than that, hide all normal and magic items, and at a certain point in the game I'll also hide rare items. Not interested in seeing any of those. And you can move that down, so I could say I want to hide, so unless it's got those experimental affixes, and actually this is the wrong way around, I want to put that above there, because I want to hide all normal and magic items, but I do want to recolor and show, so in this colour, in caps I believe, not in caps, but in that colour, I want anything in the game that drops with one of these affixes, and they are, this is for my my paladin, mana gained when you use Rive, which is my primary damage skill, level of Rive, level of Lunge, which I'm using, level of Judgment, which I'm using, level of Sigils of Hope, level of Holy Aura. So anything to do with the skills that I'm using as a primary, even if I'm not going to equip that item, I can always disenchant it or shatter it to get those, potentially to get those shards to craft. Then I hide all normal and magic items, because I only want to see them if they've got those affixes. However, if it's a rare item, which means it's got 3 or more affixes, so two prefixes and a suffix, 2 suffixes and a prefix, or 2 of each, I want to see those only if they are a particular subtype. And what I've done here is I've listed every type of item. So for example, let's start with helmets, right? So in the game, my paladin's level 70, I want to see only these 4 types of helmet, because they work for my build, and I'm not actually sure this is still up to date because I've leveled my paladin since, but at the time I only wanted to see these 4 types of helmet, and I only want to see them if they have at least one of a range of 22 different affixes on, and those are things like physical damage, which I'm scaling my build with, melee attack speed, +1 to strength, ++ to strength, + to vitality. The things that are really core to my build, to making it work better, making it perform better. So I'm not going to go into loot filters now, and I'm not going to build one now, but we might just build one on stream later, or we might build one off stream and run through it very quickly. But that to me is my favourite bit of the whole game, even more than the crafting system. I think the loot filter system in this game is so flexible, and you don't have to go to a third-party site. You don't have to you don't have to import. You don't have to use tools that are nothing to do with 11th hour games. It's all built into the game. It's made by people who love ARPGs and know what a good ARPG should play like, and they know you're going to want a useful loot filter. And I've been pleased with the loot filter in Grim Dawn. It served me perfectly fine for levelling up, grinding out, and identifying gear for my Grim Dawn characters for quite a while. but it has nothing on the loot filter in this game in terms of its ability to give you what you need on the ground and to emphasize it in the right way. You know, you might want stuff to show on the ground that you might later choose not to take, but you'll know what it is, you'll know what type of item it is, you'll know why it's been highlighted for you based on the colour of the text and whether it's capitalised. So at a glance you can say, oh, actually I've got the rings I want now. Those are rings, maybe I take those off my filter, maybe just for now I'm not interested in them. But it's all really quick and easy, and it lets you carry on playing the game. You're not spending hours and hours going through your inventory trying to work out whether you've got what you should have got or you've missed a drop. You can just enjoy playing. Hey, now level 10 is important because in this build it lets us click 1 here and that gives us shield rush. So we can put our second specialisation as shield rush. Now this is a skill I've never used. You'll notice our minimum specialisation level, it was 1 last time we looked because we were lower level, it's now 2. So I get 2 points. No matter whether I delete this skill from my specialisation bar and I put it back in later, I will always have at least 2 points based on my level, and it will get higher as we go up. So I know what I want to do with this skill roughly, and I'm not sure whether it's going to work, but I'm going to go through 2 paths. First is I can make it deal more damage, just flat out do more damage, and Shield Rush is a skill. It's got a 4.5 second cooldown, it costs 50 mana, so it's pretty mana intensive, and I rush forwards and I smash the enemies in the path that I'm going through, and then when I let go it hits people at the end, I think. It does about 59 DPS at the moment, and it scales with physical damage, melee damage, channeled skill, traversal skill, strength and movement. So I'm going to go Shield Rush deals more damage, and I can get that up to 100%, it's 20% per point, potentially 5 points in there. And then I'm going to go into here a little bit, which is the amount of damage it does against full health enemies. So the way I'm going to use Shield Rush is I'm going to rush into packs of undamaged mobs. I'm going to do a load of damage with Shield Rush, and then when we get to the end of it we're going to start using Multi-Strike, which is going to be the skill I go into later. And that one costs no mana, so we can pimp this out. We can use a lot of mana charging in with our Shield Strike, our Shield Rush, and then we'll go into Multi-Strike, which won't cost us anything. But I can also scale it over here for final hit damage, so the last hit it does when I reach my target will do more damage, and it will do it in a greater area. And 1 point in that lets me increase the final hit damage even more. I can improve the critical strike chance of it, and I can improve the critical strike multiplier, which is the amount of damage I do on a critical strike. And I'm going to go up to these 4 nodes later on. But to start with, I think we just want it to do some more damage. So we'll take a couple of points in there, because when I get to 3 points in there, I can start doing more damage versus full health enemies. And we won't max this out of 4 to start with, but we might take a point in it, just to sort of keep us going. Now, I always like to have my movement skill here on W, just because I've done it with my other builds, and it's force of habit. It's nice to know where your movement skill is. I have never used this skill, so let's see what happens. Oh, I overshot him quite badly. That cooldown doesn't feel too bad. Oh, but my aim is terrible. So we are going to be practicing a little bit to get this Shield Rush off. Now, one of the reasons I like Shield Rush is I'm going to spec later into I don't know what it is, but it's a skill that summons shields, right? It might be called Summon Shield, I don't know. And there's a node in that lets me summon a load of shields around me for defense. And when they're summoned, when I do Shield Rush, they all form in a line in front of me, and I plough through a whole wide range of mobs. All I know about that is there is a node on a skill tree that I read somewhere online on a builder and went, that sounds cool. No idea how good it is, no idea how it scales. I've never used Shield Rush, and I've never used, and we're going to find out what the shield is. It's Ring of Shields is the skill. So Ring of Shields conjures a ring of shields around you. 15-second cooldown. But there are ways you can spec into this so that there's a chance of it happening on hit. And down here, if I spec down here, it will reduce the mana cost and give the shields extra health. It will make the shields weaker per point, they'll lose health. And I can increase my block chance and my block effectiveness, which we absolutely want to do because we are going for a shield build that we recover health on block. So we're going to try and block as many times as we can. But finally we get Rush Wall. When using Shield Rush, your shields form a wall in front of you, increasing the area you hit. So I'm going to try and play some synergy between those two abilities. No idea if it's going to work. I've never played either of those abilities. But when I put the build together, I was like, you know what, that sounds like fun. So that's what we're going to do. Like, at the moment, Shield Rush is good. It's a traversal skill. It gets me across the map quite quickly. It is doing 0 damage. It really isn't doing very much at all. Oh, that was better. Maybe I'm not quite getting the finish point on it correct, but... oh dear. Also, it runs out of mana very quickly at the moment, so I want to be careful with that. But... yeah. So, on its own, Shield Rush, really, really underwhelming. It's not doing very much. But guess what? Like some of the other skills, I have a sneaking suspicion that when we have pimped it out in a little bit, and we've tied it to some other skills, we're going to find that it's a really good way to get across the map and do massive damage. Yeah, at the moment it takes up so much mana that I'm not able to do my hammers at the end of it, and therefore I'm completely nerfing my own damage potential. These are all things you learn by using the build. It's not something I'd even thought about, but at the moment I'm not using my end game skills. I'm using a set of skills that here, take that. That I'm bridging until I've unlocked these new skills, and I'm just having some fun. And it's not quite working as well as I'd hoped it would. That's great. We're going to play with it. We're going to improve it. We're going to see where it gets to. Ah, eat hammers. Nice. Oh, this guy has got absolutely wailed upon. I don't think we've been doing a very good job of protecting him. I've no idea if he's actually able to die. I've not really struggled with this particular part of the main storyline quest before, but we shall see. So later on, I can spec Multi-Strike is going to be my default attack of choice. It costs 0 mana, and I can spec in my passive tree so that it gains me health and mana when I use it, and also so that it fires off smites on a pretty regular basis. So I can spec into Smite, but I don't need Smite on my action bar. I'll be able to cast it just by hitting things with Multi-Strike. Again, no idea how effective that is, but it sounded cool to me, so I'm building to it. And that's what I love about this game. This is what action RPGs should be. They should encourage you to pick stuff up and experiment. And, you know, following somebody else's build guide is great, and if you enjoy that, and that's how you want to sort of have fun, brilliant. And that largely is how I've played a lot of ARPGs until now. Diablo, Grim Dawn. I want to see the content, and I don't want to struggle too much, and it helps me to understand as a new player to follow somebody else's build guide and plan, because that helps me learn what items are good and what skills are good. But in this game, the combinations are so vast and varied that instead of doing what I do in those games, where I take somebody else's build, and once I'm familiar with it, I change a few points and I tweak the skills and I make them my own. I play it the way my playstyle works. There's so much in this game that I think I would struggle with that. I wouldn't know where to start taking points out and putting points in. So for 1.0, I'm just going to do my own builds, and they are going to suck terribly, particularly in the early game, as we saw earlier. I think we might be on 5 or 6 deaths now. But once we get them to click, they're going to feel so much better for it. So while we're streaming, if there's people in chat who have suggestions, that's absolutely fine. Dial back any massive backseat gaming. If I'm doing stuff way wrong, might be by choice. Might be that I just don't care and I'm having fun and that's the way I want to do it. But I'm always happy to take people's advice, comments and so on, because I don't have a lot of experience with this game. I think I've got 120 hours in it. That's not a lot. And I've spent those playing 5 different classes just to try the game out. So once 1.0 hits, I'm going to be diving in hardcore and we're going to be sticking with this character. But for now, any assistance, any guidance, anywhere to sort of point me in the direction of bits of information, really useful. But I am for the first time flying solo without any form of build guide, and it's really liberating. And I think this game gives you the confidence to do that. Everything's viable, and respecing and changing your mind if it doesn't work is so easy. The game just encourages you to do that. You know, other than your mastery choice, and I know why that was done, and I can kind of see that. You know, there's some personal ownership of your character. This is my Forge Guard, not this is my only Sentinel, and if I want to make a Paladin, I'll just pay to strip all the skills off my Forge Guard. Frankly, to get to level 20 and level a Paladin instead really isn't that much time and effort. Alright, if you're fully invested in your Forge Guard in endgame, great, but you're going to have to respec all that gear and stuff anyway. So I'm quite happy with the permanent mastery choice, given that you can change everything else at relatively low cost and low impact. You're not punished for decisions in this game, you're encouraged to try things, and if they don't work, try something else. And what works for somebody might not work for you. So I, for example, don't like pressing a lot of buttons. I don't like a really button-heavy build because I'm old and I struggle and I'm not great with keyboards, and I'm like, I miss things. I'm bad with really rotation-heavy, clever builds. I've enjoyed my Rune Master, but I struggle with it because I have to do things in a very certain order. I have to know where I am, plus pay attention and not die. I quite like 2-button builds if they're really good, but I also don't like them to be too simple. You know, if I spec into a build where I can just hold down a particular skill and mow down the whole screen, that's also not fun. You know, you need to be able to have some synergy and set some things up. So I can make some builds in this game that I love, and they won't be builds that other people love. They won't be your play style. They may not be optimal, but they'll be great fun, and that's all I'm here for. And those fun builds will get me to endgame. You know, I've played monoliths up to level 66 or whatever. You know, I've not gone into the level 100 monoliths. I have fought the Shade of Oribus. I died horribly. I got one shot. But you know, I've been there and I've seen it, and I know where I'm lacking to get that done. But I've no problem knowing that I will get there with a bit more playing with builds and a bit more playing with gear and itemization and crafting. But I'll feel better for it because I'll have done it off my own back. But that's how I like to play. If you want to see that content and you are overwhelmed by the game, or there are certain aspects you don't like, and you just want to pick a build and go, right, in 1.0 I'm going to follow this right through to level 100, and that's going to get me to where I want to go to enjoy the game, crack on. Yeah, that's what we're all here for. But I do think this game, far more than PoE, which is to my mind too complex, and I want to love PoE, and I've played maybe 300 hours of it, but at my age I find it too much, and between each league too much has changed, too much has been added, and I don't feel I can catch up. PoE 2 may be a bit different, and I'll look forward to that, but PoE I'm sort of pulling back from, because I've tried to crack it on 5 or 6 occasions, and I always find it just a bit overwhelming, and I feel I need my hand held too much. D4 I've put 600 hours into since launch. It's not been out a year. My interest faded. I loved launch. I liked season 1. I liked season 2. I wasn't a hater. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I got my money's worth. I got my fun out of it. I bought the battle passes. I was happy with that. It was all good. By the time season 3 rolled around, it had been uninstalled from my PS5 because not a lot of storage space. I was playing other stuff, and I never put it back on because I started playing Grim Dawn and I started playing this, and they appealed to me more because they appeal to my playstyle. There's a little bit more I can do in terms of personalised, customised builds that aren't min-maxed and optimised. And I had a few of those on D4. I played builds that weren't meta, that weren't from somebody's YouTube video. But the problem I had with those was I didn't enjoy playing them as much as I enjoyed playing some streamers' optimised build, because the optimised build was more capable and it was ultimately more fun. It wiped screens. It did the cool things we like in action RPGs. I find in Last Epoch, my builds do that to a level I'm happy with. Not necessarily as effective as somebody else's build, but I feel more confident and comfortable making a build that performs really well. I've been talking for like 4 hours, thank you, love. But let's click on this dialogue button and move on. Yeah, you see, I found that in almost every game now. And I'm sort of the same in Grim Dawn. I'm currently working on my first ever Grim Dawn sort of homebrew build, and I've stuttered with it a lot. It worked really well up to a certain level, and then I think I got the itemization wrong, and it just dropped off a cliff, and I started dying left, right, and centre. And now I've sort of got it back. I've pulled a few items and I've changed a few skills around, and I feel it's now starting to perform again. And I've not really found that with this as much for some reason, and I think it's because for me, and it's really personal, but for me, the passive trees are quite digestible, and each of the skill trees, although there's a lot to go with each skill, are all quite digestible. They're individual nodes that quite clearly explain what they do. My brain clicks with it better, and I'm able to sort of come up with my own ideas and try them and work out roughly, if it didn't work, why, and try something new. And that's not something I get to do very often with ARPGs. Normally I'm like, I don't understand why this isn't working, I'll look at somebody's build guide. And with this one it just seems to work, so I'm pleased with it. I hope that carries on. You know, the game may increase in complexity post-launch. You know, we may get other classes, other masteries, all sorts of stuff over time. And it may be that I lose that ability, but right now I'm in a really comfortable place where I can't make good, high-performing endgame builds. But I can make builds that can go into the monolith and not die and farm stuff at a rate I'm happy with, and that I really enjoy playing, where I just go, you know what, I want to log on for 25 minutes and do 3 or 4 monoliths, and then I'll go and do something else. And inevitably I end up playing for 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, whatever it is, I'm not sure. It's very personal to me, but it does click at the moment. Right, where are we on? God, we're on 5 to 9 already. I was going to stream for a couple of hours, but we are not yet at the last refuge, or wherever it is we're going. So let's go to the last refuge, and then we'll get there, and I think we will end the stream at the last refuge. Eat hammers. Yep, I'll do that quest. Right. Oh, yeah, see, that thing does really eat the mana. And I don't have a lot of it at the moment, but we're good, we're good. Right. Ha! There's something about dashing into people and smacking them with hammers, both of which are tremendous fun. I found the hammer skill, over time I found it quite difficult to get on with, although there are some pretty cool ways to improve it. You can make it cheaper, you can make it do more damage, and you can increase the number of hammers thrown massively, and suddenly you're screen clearing with it, and it's a totally different skill to this, which I really like. But it is nice to go back to it. Yeah, see, I don't need to be standing here fighting every last mob like this. I should be powering through, and in fact we can just do that. I think our survivability is good enough now that we can run through all these people that need talking to, fight any stuff, and crack on. And we'll get to the last refuge. Wow. Okay, so when it hits, that shield rush does pretty decent damage. I'm not sure it's 50 mana's worth of damage, but we will hopefully be able to make it more mana efficient going down the skill tree a little bit later on. See, I'm trying to do cool things now where I throw the hammers and then I dodge away and then I get people with the return hammers. And I did this with hammers last time, and I end up standing in one spot doing absolutely nothing when I could just be holding this button and killing everything on screen. Yeah, we'll take that health pot because we got pretty badly messed up there. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm using a left-hand gamepad. It's like an old Razer pad that I used to use for World of Warcraft years ago, because I like having a very small number of keys within very easy reach. Otherwise, my fingers get sore. Because, you know, I'm an old dude. And every now and again, the keys on it lock. It's quite old. So that was quite fun to watch it do that, but also really annoying, because that's not what I wanted it to do. Right, experience on kill, definitely. So now we need kills to make the experience on kill worth it. Right, eat all of this. That's pretty cool. So we're going to do the side quest here, which is letting 3 people know that they need to leg it. And then we're going to get ourselves into the last refuge, where we can hand in some quests and get all of our new quests. And then we're going to end the stream, and I'm going to finish my beer and go and get something to eat. But this has been fun. Other than the fact that I've talked myself hoarse, and I've talked more than I've played. But I get like that about games that I like. I love this game. It's a ton of fun to me. I'm enjoying playing it, and I like sharing it with you guys.
Gods be with you.
Right, you can flee. So we've got one more dude now who needs to flee. There's a chest over here. Oh, I've just realised, I think I accidentally put my... Yeah, I did. I put my endgame paladin filter on, which is all very well and good, but that's why I haven't had any items drop in a little while. So that is how powerful the loot filters are. Like, if you've been wondering why I haven't had any items drop in a while, it's because I'd put on an endgame loot filter, and none of those items are going to drop here at all. There's just no chance of it. I will make a loot filter for my Forge Guard, and we will start... The thing I like about the loot filters, I'll make the loot filter and it will work for every level. And all we'll do as we level up, if there are items that we out-level, base items that we out-level and no longer want to pick up, we'll just take those off the list. But the affixes we're looking for are going to stay the same. So we'll make that filter, we'll make it once, and we'll just update it every few levels to make sure it stays relevant. Right, eat hammers. Bye bye. Picked up a load of crap there, but that's fine. See, I like the shield rush, but I think until we've pimped the shield rush, the hammer throw is just doing so much more damage for us that we are going to sit and throw hammers instead of wasting our mana shield rushing everybody. But I'm hoping late game we're going to be able to shield rush all the time really quickly and use it to traverse and to clear maps and to get through things way, way, way faster. Hey buddy! Eat hammers. So this is one of the little prison things where the dudes who drop the experimental affixes are. Right now I think he's probably going to kick my ass, or at least take me long enough to kill that we'll be here for a while. So I'm just going to skip it, but that would drop gear that has on it an experimental affix, which is pretty cool, and I'll show those in a future stream. I've got quite a number of them in my stash.
Stand down or die.
Yeah, stand down or die. I always wonder what the proc is for them to say something bold and brave like that, because quite often it's really cool. You know, you'll do something and you'll kill a whole load of mobs, and your character will say something amazing like stand down or die, or I am amazing. And sometimes you'll almost die to shitty mobs and they'll be like, I am the best! Which I also quite like. It's hilarious. Oh, that's some skill ups. Right, we're not going to do an awful lot of this, but we have got hammer throw up, and I think... Oh, ooh, okay. Eat hammers. There's level 12. I think if we're going to level hammers up, I like extra projectiles, which cost even more mana, but that means that you can suddenly spec into this, where you can get 18% more damage, and they can cost 6 mana less. So they're currently 13, we can spec them down to 7 with an 18% mana, 18% damage buff. And we'll be summoning more of them, and generally we're just going to... Look at that, more hammers already. Suddenly we are kicking ass. I'm already wondering whether I change and do hammers, but that's only because they're so much fun. Right, so we've finished the side quest there, so now we can just get to the council chambers. It is this way. Way more hammers coming out, way more damage being done, and suddenly that one skill point makes a big step up. Even with the extra expense from a mana point of view, we're kicking ass. And either in the next stream or for the next stream, we will do a loot filter, and then we'll actually start looking at what's dropping on the ground as well. At the moment, I'm sort of ignoring anything that's not yellow, but that isn't the most efficient way to do this, because it very much depends on the affixes you've got and the gear you've got. I'm just enjoying smacking people with hammers way too much. Look at that, look at that. I mean, it doesn't get much more fun than that. I know that, well, I don't know what's meta and what's not meta in terms of builds, but I do know I've seen a lot of people doing spinny hammer builds. It was the very first thing I tried when I came back into the game, and I enjoyed it so much it has been a favourite of mine ever since. Because what is there not to love when your hammers can just do that and melt everything on screen? And they just keep getting wider and wider, so, you know, the stuff that's not quite with you yet, you can kill it from a bigger distance. And then I can do it here with this big bad boy. And when he starts being a pain in the backside, I run away. But the hammers are going wider, so they're still hitting him. And then we'll smack him like this, go over here. Just feels so much more survivable than it did only a few minutes ago. Just brilliant. And we got a yellow shield out of that, which is nice. And we've made our way to the council chambers. Right, I'm going to call the stream there. We've done 2 and a bit hours, 2 and a quarter hours. That was great fun for a first stream. Hopefully the audio wasn't terrible and people enjoyed it. Nano, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you to whoever else followed that I missed. I will be changing the way I look at my my stream updates from here on out so that I don't miss people who follow. But for everyone that followed, everyone that watched, thank you so much. It's just nice to have you here while I'm tooling around playing the game. And I think we might get passive points. Idle slots here. Yes, 4 idle slots. So just before we go, this is your idle window. So these are your sort of Diablo 2 charms, but they don't take up inventory slots, they've got their own slot. And as you do all the side quests in the campaign, up to just before Lagon you get all of them, you unlock all of these. I think there's 15 of them if we look at the map. There are 8 idle slot rewards, which is more than 8 slots, but it is 8 rewards from different quests, and passive points from 15 different quests. So we've got 4 out of 15 and 1 out of 8 at the moment, so you can always check that out. But they let me put these little icons in, so the looking at these, you can get 1x1s, 2x1s, 1x2s, 2x2s, 4x1s, all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and you squeeze them into this grid, and they have lots of little bonuses. Might be your chance to poison, might be your poison resist, your void resist. In this case we've got 3% increased health, 9% lightning resist. And I've got a stack of these things. If we go and have a look at my idle slots, and there's a number of, so these are mostly generic. There's a lot of Sentinel idols here, and a lot of sort of Paladin-y themed ones. So we've got little 1x1s, we've got 2x1s, 1x2s, 2x2s, 3x1, 4x1, 1x4, lots and lots of different shapes and sizes. And then we've got specific ones for different classes. They have their own, all again different sizes, and you squeeze them in and they're very build specific, so they let you tweak your build. It's another little tweak to the build that lets you round out your stats, even up your resistances. These are my resistances across here, as you can see, they are garbage. Fire's not bad, everything else is relatively trashy but not critical at this stage in the campaign. So it's another level in which you can create and customise your character, and I love it, it's brilliant. So I'm going to be streaming a lot more Last Epoch on here. Thank you very much for sticking around and bearing with me. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, I certainly did, and I will see you guys again soon. Take care, dudes. Goose out.